my weekly live stream. Nice to see you. If you're here and you could leave a comment, that would be really nice. Just to know that you're here. And anything you want to share. I have some things I want to talk about today from the yoga tradition that I think may be helpful. Hopefully, they're helpful for you personally, and I think they might be helpful for us globally to consider. Um, so I've been talking to some folks from different places. Like I have a really good friend, and one of my mentors actually is in Brazil, and they're struggling for sure with COVID. I have a really good friend in Australia, and they just came out of lockdown on Monday. They're in the eastern part over in New South Wales. They just came out of lockdown after like 100 and something. I mean, incredibly long time that they weren't allowed to leave this 5 kilometer area. I've got some friends in England who have been struggling with everything that's going on over there, and they've been having like shortages of things. I mean, there's so much going on right now in the world. Have you noticed? In your own, and we could say, oh, it's the stars and 5 planets are in retrograde and all that stuff, but the reality is we have to contend with it. We have to deal with it. And the other piece, of course, is the huge mental health fallout that we're dealing with right now. I have a very close person who in my life who is struggling with addiction and struggling with relapsing. And we all know people that are struggling with mental health. I know people who've lost people to suicide during the pandemic. I mean, mental health is just through the roof. Mental health struggles are through the roof right now. Okay, so what do I want to? First of all, I think that there's probably something global happening, and that's just my way of making sense of this. Whether or not I'm right, I don't know, but I think there's probably something global happening in terms of the awakening of consciousness. And because clearly the veils of illusion, as I talk about in the tradition, the veils of illusion are being ripped asunder and ripped away from reality as we knew it, and we're being given the opportunity to focus on what is important. What is important, you know, what really matters in your life, and what matters to human beings in general is meaning and purpose and connection and love and self-understanding, you know, and support and helping other people. All that's what human beings everywhere in the world will agree on, just to one extent or another. That's what matters. There's, you know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this idea like you have to get your food and shelter stuff met first so you can move up. Yeah, there's definitely tons of research, and there's tons of reality to that, you know. But there's even something that lies underneath that, according to some new research, which is our connection to each other. Do we feel connected? Do we feel like there's a meaning and purpose in our life? And part of that meaning and purpose is how we are there to support each other, right? So as that stuff starts to bubble up to the surface, because we can't get as distracted by all the nonsense. Well, I mean, it's very easy to get distracted by nonsense, but I mean, that there's an opportunity to recognize that stuff is bubbling up, and then we have to go, okay, so how am I going to move forward with a sense of purpose and a sense of conviction and a sense of like righteousness, if you like, dharma would be the term in Sanskrit. Like, how am I going to move forward? And so there's 2 key ingredients in moving forward during difficult times: sraddha and asha. That's my opinion. These 2 key ingredients. Sraddha means faith, and that could be faith in your higher self, faith in your deity, faith in humanity, faith in the planet. What's your faith? Where is it? And how do you harness it without cynicism, right? And without doubt? How do you harness that faith? Because that faith is what helps you move forward. And the second key ingredient is asha, which means hope. Asha, A-S, with a little thing over the top. Asha means hope. So hope here, according to the tantrics, it's one of the vrittis, one of the petals of your heart chakra. Hope is in the heart, literally. When that little flame dies out and we that's when we give into despair. That's really a hard place to be, and very difficult to drag yourself out of it. So you've got to keep feeding the hope. How do you feed the hope? You can feed the hope with faith. You can feed the hope with a smile from, from a friend, a nice positive interaction with a friend. And yoga practices are very helpful for feeding the hope too, particularly the more contemplative stuff. So the contemplating the meaning and purpose of my life, and contemplating my relationship to my higher self, because it's all about relation. That's the veils are coming up about the relationships, and whether what is going on is some huge power struggle thing between these giant forces that are unseen, as some people would say is what's going on, whether that's happening or not. What is definitely happening is that we have an opportunity for humanity to wake up a little more and to expand a little more and to focus on what matters, meaning and purpose, and a sense of connection and relationships, and supporting other people and getting to know myself better. Those are the promises of yoga. That is what yoga helps us to do better for ourselves, and helps us to as a way to connect with other people. And that's what we're being called to do right now. We're being called to be more human. We're being called to come into our humanity, to come into our hearts, come into our humanity, and make the changes that we need to make, and shift what needs to be shifted, support our local communities, develop your bioregions, develop the food supply, whatever it is, like that, how you can participate. And if the way that you participate, I mean, the way that I want to participate, the way that a lot of you I know are yoga teachers, one of the ways we can participate is keep bringing these messages of hope, and optimism, and the belief in the goodness of humanity. Because even if there is this big giant power struggle going on amongst the powers that be, or the evil forces, or whatever, like, the light always wins out. It always does. That's a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. He said, "The light always wins out." So could be part of your purpose, is to be there as, helping to bring those messages forward. Doesn't mean you don't feel like crap sometimes. Doesn't mean you don't, lose some of that hope and lose some of the faith. Of course we do. That's so human. But we keep circling back to it, keep coming back to it. The promise of yoga is a transformation of your personality, a transformation of yourself, and the promise of yoga is that transformation trickles out to other people, because we are intimately connected and intimately interdependent. Let it touch other people. Let them change. You see it. It happens all the time. What do you think? I would love to know your opinion about these things. Please leave a comment, and keep the faith. This is the time to really dig into your practices. Dig into your practices. Keep the faith, and we will see a light. The light's there at the end of the tunnel. Thank you so much for being here. Lots of love. I'll see you next week.